Hello, my name is Sean Stennett. I've lived in Colorado Springs all of my life and watched it grow. I've worked in marketing for much of that time. Let's cultivate a marketing community and tell their stories. This is Marketing Colorado Springs Podcast. Introducing Colin Christie of Neon Pig. All right, everyone, welcome back to Marketing Colorado Springs Podcast. I have Mr. Colin with us today. Hey, Colin, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you got going on?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Sean. My name's Colin Christie. I am one of the partners and creative director at Neon Pig Creative. We're a graphic design agency based in downtown Colorado Springs, Colorado. Neon Pig is been around for about 8 years. We started in 2018, January of 2018. And I have been a graphic designer for about 16 years in various capacities, freelance, in-house, and then now with Neon Pig for the past 8 years on the agency side of things. And really glad to be here for sure.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that's so cool, Colin. Yeah, so I'm sure you guys get this all the time. And obviously I did a little bit of research of my
Oh
own, but
yeah.
I'm fascinated. Why Neon Pig? Where does that name come from?
Yeah, it is a great question, and certainly one we get asked, and
Uh,
I'm glad you asked it. Do we have a little bit of time? Because I've got an unabridged story and I've got an abridged story. So
hey, maybe we put those in the middle of each other.
okay, sure.
I
Sounds
love
good. Well,
stories though. I'm getting out
sure.
my
Well,
popcorn.
sounds good, man. Well, um, yeah, I'll try and be as succinct as possible while also giving kind of the full breadth of how it happened. But
Yeah,
we oftentimes say that it was the best business decision we ever made. And we don't have any hard evidence to support that, but we truly believe that. Um, so basically, in 2016,
mhm.
before Neon Pigs started, I was working in-house at the Mining Exchange Hotel.
Okay.
And one of my business partners was also working in-house with me. And then our third business partner, he owned his own studio, web design studio, and he approached Laura and me. My two business partners are named Laura Schnar and Michael Ocaña.
Okay.
And Michael approached Laura and I in late 2016 with the idea to start our own agency. And we, immediately jumped on board. We thought it was great, but we
Yeah.
wanted to do it very intentionally,
Yeah.
very thoughtfully,
Yeah.
before we essentially, jump off a cliff. We want to make sure that our parachute is well built, so to speak. So
Got it.
this is late 2016. He approached us. We spent all of 2017 really getting our ducks in a row, preparing to start this agency and all of the things that are involved with that. And of course, a big part of that is naming and branding yourself. We also started with three other designers, Laura Tiller, Stephen Davis, and Clint Hager. None of them are with Neon Pig anymore, but they're all wonderful people. They've gone on to do bigger and better things. But anyway, naming is challenging in and of itself. But when you have six creatives in the room with all strong opinions and good ideas, it becomes really challenging. But
Yep.
we had several brainstorming processes, and eventually we had kind of narrowed it down to a short list of names, and we were feeling okay about where we were for our short list of names. So back to working at the mining exchange.
Mhm.
When we started, before we started Neon Pig, we really wanted to be very respectful of their situation, and so we gave them like 6 months notice that
Nice.
essentially their whole marketing department was planning on leaving at the end of the year. And with that, we also wanted to try and leverage them and retain them as a client. And
Hmm.
so and so we put together this terrific presentation, and we gave it to the owners about why it makes more sense to maybe outsource their marketing and graphic design needs as opposed to essentially replacing the entire marketing department. And we feeling great about it. We put together, like I said, it was spot on. And before we went in to give this presentation, I said to my two business partners, "You guys, we're going to knock this out of the park. We're so well rehearsed."
Uh-huh.
And I am wearing my lucky neon pig socks. I
Ah,
had a pair of socks that have neon pigs on them, and I kind of coined them as my lucky socks. And the presentation, this is still far before the name Neon Pig was ever really conceived.
ah,
The presentation goes well, it goes
uh-huh,
good.
uh-huh,
We're out having a beer afterwards and kind of
uh-huh.
celebrating. And one of our designers says to us, "You guys, I got to be honest with you. I am really not crazy about the name that we had settled on. We had settled on a different name, and it kind of was the most mediocre idea that rose to the top of all the other fine ideas. It was fine. It's a fine idea, but whatever.
Sure, sure.
So we kind of all said, I'm really glad you said that because we were kind of lukewarm on it. I think everybody's just sort of afraid to say something. But okay, so no more will we go with that name. It's back to the drawing board with our name. And so it wasn't in that moment. This was still before, but it was about 3, 4 days later. One of my business partners throws out Pig Sock Creative and then Neon Pig Creative. And I think she threw it out as a joke. I'm sure she probably did just because you don't, when you're
Yeah,
brainstorming names, you throw out everything and
yeah,
throw it, just brainstorming really.
yeah.
And but when she said neon pig, that one just kind of stuck to our ribs, it just kind of hit us in the gut in the best way where we just sort of saw this brand develop in front of our eyes and we liked that it was weird and edgy and kind of radical, but it also had a very special meaning for us,
Sure.
and with our story and this very story that I'm telling you today. And so it's named after a pair of lucky socks. And now the whole agency has Neon Pig socks. We found the company that made them. And so we wear them when we've got big presentations. And I'm actually wearing them today.
Oh,
So,
what? Yes.
because I have this
Yes.
this awesome podcast interview, and so I had to make sure that I put on my lucky pig socks today. So that's how we landed on Neon Pig,
I
and
love
that was
it.
that was kind of the unabridged, full official story. So thanks for sticking with me on that.
No, I love it. I love that so much. It's funny because like I remember seeing you guys come on the scene years ago, and I was like, I just thought it was random, and I thought it was the funnest
Yeah,
thing I've ever seen. Like I was
yeah,
like, dude, that's brilliant in the most random
yeah.
way, you know?
Yes, yes.
Like, I love it. I usually do this later, but I wanted to share my screen and just showcase you guys' website a little bit because yeah, right out of the gate, you just got this bright pink
Mm-hmm.
thing happening and this pig on the scene. And so, yeah, you go into their about information and they kind of tell a shorter version of this story. And there's the
Yeah.
socks right there. And yeah, of course, I read all about it and I was just. I mean, I love the funness of the story. So, one quick follow-up
Yeah.
question. What was the name going to be? Do you even remember? I'm
Sure,
sure you
sure.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question. So we were going down this path of a lot of these like blue collar names. We really wanted to kind of evoke this sense that we roll up our sleeves and get to work and aren't afraid to get our hands dirty kind of thing. So we had
Right.
a handful of names that were kind of on that vein.
Uh-huh.
And the name that we had decided on was Axle Creative, sort of like a car's
Oh,
axle, the axles and wheels and things like that. And
okay. I get the
and
metaphor right away. It's kind of, yeah.
yeah, and there is some positive connotation with that, kind of an unspoken thing that just is constantly moving something forward. And there's something to be said about that. But yeah, it's kind of a dark alternative storyline to think about what our brand would have been had we been Axle Creative.
Yeah.
We would have been probably just gray and brown, and we wouldn't have been able to be neon pink, and it wouldn't have certainly been as memorable. And so
Right.
it's very much a blessing in disguise that one of our designers said they didn't like it. And I guess that also just goes to show you that you should speak up
Yeah.
if if you don't like something. So
Sure. Yeah.
anyway, yeah, we are so fortunate that we are not Axle Creative, but we are Neon Pig.
Yeah, and I see how it could have worked. Like,
Sure.
it's almost kind of like the machine shop, right? Like that same
Yeah.
kind of idea. It could have been fun in its own right, but man, you mentioned like this was one of the best early on business decisions that we made. I wholeheartedly to agree. Like I get on the website and I smile right away because I'm like, oh
Yeah.
man, Neon Pig, like, and you have the hat. It's just such a fun brand. And then you guys go on and on about like not being boring,
Yeah.
and like I'm a dad, so I like
Yeah.
dad jokes, and like everything else associated with it. And then I did a little bit of research too, because like I'm thinking like, okay, well, I go to like the Chinese calendar and like
Hmm.
I'm born in the year of the boar. And
Hmm.
so I'll read off some personality traits just real quick out of the gun.
Yeah.
You're honest and trustworthy, generous and kind, hardworking and diligent, calm and easygoing, optimistic, loyal and devoted. I don't know you that well, but I feel like these attributes would succinct to your brand. And so that's just something that I would offer up as an addendum to that. And
Yeah.
uh, as Bob Ross says, a little happy accident. So,
Yes.
um,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. There are amazing amount of positive connotations that come with pigs.
right.
There are a few negative ones too.
Sure. Sure.
And that it was interesting when we first started. It was universally loved by all three of the partners, and one of our designers. But a couple of the other designers were a little bit hesitant because it
Yeah.
is so radical, and
Yeah.
we thought we might turn some people off.
Uh-huh.
But in fact, we did a lot more of our own research as well, and found that so much more oftentimes pigs are associated with prosperity and hard work, and
Yeah. Yeah.
digging for truffles and uncovering these things, and steadfastness, and more of the
Right.
positive things. And so we went with it, and it is very interesting how pigs and humans I've coexisted for forever, and their depictions in literature and film and
Mm.
music and things. And for whatever reason, people just freaking love pigs. So when people hear neon pig, they
Yeah.
subconsciously, they just are kind of charmed by it.
Yeah. In the antithesis, do you ever get like pushback or like is somebody ever like, "Oh, well, Neon Pig,
No,
raw."
no, never. And only,
Good.
only, only in those early on internal meetings,
Yeah.
when we had a couple people who said, "I worry that we may turn some people off because pigs are fat and sloppy and
Yeah.
gross." That was the only time. We
Okay.
have we have
Good.
clients we have clients across the spectrum of industries, and we even have a couple of faith-based clients who you might
Uh,
think that would be the type of client who maybe this is a little weird for
it,
them. That no, sure enough, they email us, they say, "Hey piggies, how you doing?" So we have never, to my knowledge, we have never turned anybody off because
that's
of Neon Pig.
I love it so much. Okay. I didn't anticipate us talking that long about it, but I'm so glad that
Yeah.
we did right away. I mean, well, and it does like it's such a nice icebreaker and like it really
Yeah.
encapsulates like the spirit of what you guys going on there. So fun, so cool. But yeah, so moving on though,
Yeah.
tell us about your team or your workspace in Colorado Springs that most people wouldn't know moving
Sure.
into your space and you guys' brand and your team and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a team of seven.
Oh,
Like I mentioned, I've got two business partners, and we're all
mhm.
equal parts owners.
Sweet.
And then we have four employees.
Hmm.
We have two full. So one of my business partners is our director of web, and then we have two additional full-time web developers.
Hmm.
Then my other business partner, Laura, is our director of strategy, and she is also a designer, and she spends a lot of her time, like me, designing. And then
Hmm.
we have another full-time designer who we just hired in May, and she's been phenomenal.
Nice.
And then we have a project manager, full-time project manager, who's been with the company since 2019, so almost since our inception. And or our beginning, and he's great too. Our whole team's fantastic. Our two, yep, there they are. So
Nice.
Michael's our director of web, Laura's our director of strategy. I'm creative director, and then Rob's our project manager. Jake has been with the agency since 2021. He's web developer, and then Cheyenne joined in 2022, I think.
And then
Pretty sure 2022.
mhm.
So anyway, we've had a
Eh,
good run of
This one
success.
is
Yeah,
funny too. Can you
yeah.
talk a little bit about this one?
Yeah, so we need to really update her headshot because she has since gotten headshots with that match the rest of ours. So we definitely need to update that. Thank you for
Uh,
pointing that out. But
no, it's
um
fine.
but so yeah, we also write kind of funny bios for everybody too. So
Right.
hers is all about her being
Uh,
a chat GPT bot. But everybody kind of has a funny bio written about them. And then if you click on it, there's actually
oh,
sort of a serious, official
oh,
bio,
uh,
if you will. So yeah,
right.
we lead with this sort of, silly irreverence with all of the copywriting on our website.
Uh,
Um, but then we also, we certainly can be serious
of
and sincere
course.
as well.
Of
So
course.
anyway, this is Claire. She's the newest member of our team. She's been with us since May, and we need to update her headshot because she doesn't match the rest of ours.
All right. Come on, Claire. Come on, Claire.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you can make a request to her and she could update that so herself. So,
Well, we need to do that. Yeah, she's gotten the headshots taken. We just need to get it
oh,
on. So I'm gonna make a note of that.
no, no worries. I wasn't trying to embarrass you either.
Oh, I
Uh,
know.
I just, I had a laugh when I was reviewing all this.
Nice, yeah. So
So,
anyway, we're based in downtown Colorado Springs. We're in
mhm.
the old depot, so we're
I
behind
love
the
that.
Antlers Hotel, kind of right down the street from the Olympic and Paralympic Museum. And
Yeah.
um, we have a ping pong table in our office. That's something that may not a lot of people would know. And
Uh-huh.
another interesting thing about our agency is that 5 out of the 7 people actually went through the Pikes Peak State College
Oh, great.
multimedia graphic design
Yeah,
program.
hey, I'm
So
right there with you. I did too.
nice,
Yeah. I
nice.
love all of those people. Um, I just interviewed Angelina Pecora of
Yeah.
Modernize My Site. We just published that episode. Super cool people.
Yeah,
Jenna Shern, Rob Olson, Chris Oxa are all like my family, like those people are great. Great
totally.
program. I'm a little older, so I came out of there a little later, but or earlier, or but it was called Pikes Peak Community College back in my day.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not that that's been that long, but yeah, fantastic community of people.
hmm
Anyway, moving on to your website, it mentions that you aim to build a brand that doesn't sink back or blend in. How do you identify when a brand is about to blend in? Maybe it's Axel Creative versus Neon Pig. What steps do you take to avoid that? And how do you kind
Yeah.
of coach people through something like that?
Yeah, yeah. So, some can be difficult
Yeah.
to assess sometimes. I would say what we do is we just really rely on our process and our intentionality when we build brands. We do a lot of foundational work before we ever start
Yeah.
designing anything.
Yeah.
And so for any client who comes to us for branding, we will sit down with them for our branding session, which we actually call digging for truffles. We really try and dig deep into the soul and substance of their brand. And this is a 3 hour meeting
Nice.
typically that we really ask for a lot of their time and collaborative efforts. And I would
Nice.
say 80 to 90% of that meeting is about the intangible stuff, the
Yep.
you know the mission, vision, the soul and substance, before we even start to talk about design preferences. So I think that a
Nice.
lot of that is uncovered through just those sessions. And then I do have a specific example, just here in
Yeah.
Colorado Springs.
Please. Yeah.
You get a lot of clients who come to you and they desire a mountain in their logo because of course we have Pikes Peak and we've got the beautiful mountain scenery. And so,
Yeah.
many times logos that you see in the Pikes Peak region have Pikes Peak. And so that's just sort of a specific example of if someone were to come to us and say, I really want a mountain in our logo, we may push back a little bit and say, well, a lot of people, a lot of businesses in this region also have mountains. So, if you're really adamant that we explore that pathway, we really got to try and deliver you a mountain that is very distinct and not, not like all the other mountains out there. So that's just sort of one concrete example that I can think of, specific to this region kind of thing. But I think for any other industry or any of our approaches, I think it really just it ties back to that process that we take, the deep dive that we try and find the unique aspects of their brand to help shine through to their visual identity.
That's so true. I mean, I love that. It's like, well, you want a mountain, like, tell me why.
Yeah,
It's like, I
right.
don't
Yeah.
know that you really do. Man, yeah, how many mountain logos have you made? That's a rhetorical question, but you and
Yeah.
I, between us, like hundreds, like, I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get it. Like, um, people are they gravitate to the low-hanging fruit a lot of the time.
Mhm.
They see it working, it's tempting, but like, why don't we make something that sizzles like a pork logo? You
Yeah,
know, right,
totally.
right, 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 exactly. Like, so I love that you guys do that, and I love the process. And man, I love that you guys really just like, hold on, let's have a Joe Rogan podcast before we make this
Yeah.
happen for you, because what can we discover in a 3 hour long conversation with either you or your business partners or your whole group? And so I absolutely love that. What a great
Yeah.
approach. Um, but moving on, many brands want to stand out. And it's a nice little dovetail into this, but
Yeah.
a few are willing to take bold risks. So how do you get them outside of their comfort zone of wanting to make a mountain logo? How do you coach them out of it? Do you ever find yourself like hitting your head against the wall, like kind of tug of war situation, or what's your approach there?
Yeah, it certainly can be challenging
Yeah,
at times, and sometimes clients will come to us with a very specific vision in mind, and so a lot of times our first conversation with them is asking them to pump the brakes a little bit, and
yeah,
certainly we want to hear them out, of course, we want to hear
sure.
everything that they're bringing to the table, but
Uh-huh.
after they've kind of told us their ideas, we say, okay, well, we appreciate you saying that. We would love to work with you, but what we'll ask of you first is to engage in a, 3 hour collaborative session. So you're going to repeat everything that you just said, but we're going to dig way deeper, and we're going to try to surprise you a little
Mhm.
bit. You're
Mhm.
coming to us with this very specific vision, but I
Yeah.
think we're going to surprise you and uncover some things that neither of us ever thought possible
I love
um,
that.
in
Yeah.
our discussions. And so sometimes they may not be willing. They may say, look, I just really need a logo. I need to get this going. And maybe it's not a fit, and that's fine, no hard feelings. It's all good. But if they are willing to take a risk and kind of slow down a little bit and sit down with us and go through our process, then we know that it's probably going to be a nice long-term fit, and it's going to hopefully lead to more success for both parties.
Yeah.
And so then during the session to really try and get them in a place of vulnerability and thinking outside the box. We'll have a few outside the box exercises that really get them to start thinking about their brand in a different way, and talking about it in ways they had never really thought of, and it really does surprise them. It leads to some cool discussions and some aha moments, certainly.
Mm.
And so I think, a lot of times they're really appreciative of that session. They come out of it saying, gosh, I really didn't know what to expect with this meeting, and I really had never really thought about my business or my organization in that way. And so, it's very insightful certainly for us, but also for them to talk about it in a different way. And then we also, certainly we can point to our own brand as an example of that. And,
Mhm.
while obviously Neon Pig is not appropriate necessarily for every industry, it is
Sure,
it
sure,
is a
sure.
good example of you know a brand that was willing to take a risk at the beginning and specifically because of that has found greater success than it may have if we hadn't taken that risk. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I love it. And like, I love what you're saying here because like it's more than, hey, client coming to Neon Pig, we listen to you and then we provide what you say. It's a collaboration of things like it's us putting our heads together. It's your best ideas and my best ideas. We build this thing and man, it becomes something an aha moment, like you said, or something that we didn't expect. And I
yeah,
absolutely love that. Like, it just gets me excited about what you guys do and what your approach is. So, walk us through your branding process.
yeah.
How do you dig into the client's core after we've had this long conversation? And how do you just go more build more than just a logo or
Yeah,
yeah.
totally. So after this initial digging for truffles session,
Hmm.
during the session, we also uncover their brand archetype,
Hmm.
which are these motifs and patterns that have appeared throughout mythology,
Hmm.
literature. Just as long as those things have been around, archetypes have been present, and
Hmm.
they are a common thing in advertising and marketing and
Hmm.
branding. And so we lead them through an archetype process. We discover that during the digging for truffle session, and then after that session, Laura Schnar, one of my business partners, will really take all those notes and those findings, and she will begin a brand strategy document, which really goes over all of these sort of intangible things. The Sometimes it may include a rewritten mission and vision statement. It will
Hmm.
talk about the brand values, the brand attributes, the voice and tone,
Hmm.
what you want your voice to be, what you don't want it to be, and kind of writing that line. And so this is all before we've even put pencil to paper and done any design at all. Is she'll start creating this brand strategy document. Sometimes clients who want to dig even deeper, and if they have like an advertising campaign or a brand campaign that they want to do, they'll that we'll put together a creative strategy that goes even deeper, that talks about target audiences,
Hmm.
and a messaging matrix that talks about how we might speak to these audiences. So this is all this foundational work before we even get to the real deliverable, which is a logo and brand guidelines, of course.
Right?
So after that, when it's time to start designing, we usually will have two designers on all of our logo and branding projects. I mentioned we have three in-house, so it's usually a combination of two of us. We like to have a couple different brains going at it at once, because it's always cool just to see what gets
Yeah.
uncovered when multiple brains are working. And like I said, we start pencil to paper. We feel that process is very important to us. Doing the analog, tactile process of sketching and not looking at a screen for a while.
Yeah.
That's really freeing and really good for our process. And after we've done a bunch of sketches, we'll get onto the computer, we'll bring it on there, and still are sketching essentially, just now it's kind of digital, and
Right.
bringing some of these concepts to life. And that's where a lot of happy accidents happen, actually. I think just when you're working in Adobe Illustrator and you're playing with the pen tool, and sometimes there's geometries and
Yeah.
discoveries that you hadn't thought of, but then some things kind of happen. And so those are always really exciting. That's a good process. And then we narrow it down. We narrow it down to five concepts, where we always pitch around five concepts, which is a lot, but
Yeah.
they're
Huh.
all kind of within the parameters of this brand strategy and all the findings that we've discovered in our research and process. And so, we like giving them some options.
Hmm.
And we'll of course present those with color palettes, typography, and then we'll mock them up on various real world materials. We really like our presentation decks, and I think the clients see through that process that they are getting a lot more thought and research and intentionality in this process. And so then that's what we do. We sit down with them, we present them. Of course, we have storytelling and rationale behind each of these each of the logos and brand identities, and so we talk through them and talk about our decision making and how we came to this ultimate mark that we're presenting to them. And yeah, and then we kind of go from there. Of course, we revise, we tweak,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, yeah.
deliver them a full brand guidelines.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. I love it. I love it. Well,
Yeah, thanks.
I wanted to talk a little bit about your involvement directly with the Colorado Springs community because
Yeah,
our mission statement is to get more involved and to get more teams like yourself talking with each other. There's so many fish
yeah,
in just this pond, and so for us to team up as a community, I think we're stronger as a whole.
yeah.
But you're really living that dream. So tell us a little about your involvement with the COS design community, with organizations such as AIGA and AAF Colorado.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for asking about that.
Yeah.
This is definitely my favorite thing. In the last year, especially, I think I've really started to see myself as a community builder, and I really try and own that role. And these two organizations, AIGA, which is the Professional Association for Design, and then AAF, which is the American Advertising Federation, have been just priceless in my career, my own personal development. It's the first thing if a younger designer or early career designer, I should say,
Mhm.
is seeking advice, that I'll tell them get involved with these organizations. Show up to events, um, get out there, be active.
Right.
I think you touched on Colorado Springs and just the value of community here, and I think we have a very unique thing going on where we have a really supportive creative community here. It's not like that in every other city.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody who is not willing to lift up another designer or offer their support to early career designers or creatives. I'm just huge on that. Can't tell you enough how much I love that. And but another thing I would say too is I think that any great designer is going to be interested in things that are not design and that are outside of the world. So I just really
Sure.
encourage people to be involved in other community organizations,
Right.
and I've been really involved with Downtown Partnership, with the
Mm-hmm.
Chamber in EDC,
Hmm.
with Leadership Pikes Peak.
Hmm.
Just other community organizations. Maybe you like to volunteer as you know, a I don't know, a docent at the Pioneers Museum, or at there's some ways to just volunteer, give back to your community. That'll just make you a better designer, a better creative, because you're
Right.
you're you're more interested, you're more curious, and all sorts of different things. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah, or like many of us, I mean, we mentioned earlier in this call, many of us are chipping in and joining with Pikes Peak State College and becoming an adjunct
absolutely,
and teaching young designers. I did some volunteering with District 11 where I went to
great,
the classrooms and talked to kids at North Middle School, and like they're
nice,
excited about this. It's like, yeah, this is fun. Like a lot of people hate their job, but I don't.
yeah.
Like
I
you
have I
really
have
don't have
done
to.
You don't, yeah. I
Right.
have done quite a bit of that as well, and that always fills my cup for sure.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
love going to the classrooms and talking to them. Yeah, absolutely.
absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely. So speaking of the future, what's we're running a little low on time, and man, I get so sad. I love having these conversations. But
Yeah.
what's next for Neon Pig Creative? Are there new services, markets, or exciting things that you guys have on the plate that you're
Yeah.
tapping into this next year, or what's happening in your world?
Yeah, I think since we've started, we've really just continued to hone our process. And so like when we first started Neon Pig, we weren't necessarily doing these 3-hour sessions with every single one of our
Okay,
branding clients. And so we have
nice.
we have really refined and honed our process. And so I hope we continue to do that.
Mm.
Specifically, we have a couple clients who we happen to have been referred to by an interior design firm,
Oh,
and so I really love the crossover between branding and graphic design, and then how that ties into interior design. And
right.
so two specific projects that come to mind are, were these referrals by this interior design client, and how we might, work collaboratively with them to, create a whole space, and the physical space of this new organization. And then another specific example is our designer Claire has a motion graphics skill
Oh,
set, and
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
which I really don't have, and
yeah.
we really haven't been able to offer much of that, but being able to offer some more motion graphics to really, I think, elevate our clients' brands and their offerings is going to be an exciting thing we can tap into as well.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I've kind of tapped into recently video production and that
Nice.
whole side of the world. My brother is a big that's kind of what he does. And so I've dabbled in it and I've kind of fallen in love with it, and it's like a whole new kind of creative world for me. And so yeah, I could
Totally.
see how motion graphics kind of blends in. And actually, I have a good friend. He works with a company called Edison Creative.
Nice.
He was a graphic designer, and then he just ended up being a motion graphics designer, and it kind of took over his world. So, um,
Cool.
yeah, I love the cross pollination of things. And man, appreciate so much your involvement with the community. It's honestly one of the reasons that I really reached out to you, because I was like, oh man, this guy's doing it. He's got the sauce. And
Oh,
so I
thanks,
just
man.
want
That means a
to,
lot.
yeah, yeah, and I just want to encourage everyone that's involved in this community. We do have a neat thing going on, and just cross-pollinate, tap into these events. Look
Yeah.
into AIGA, AAF. Like, there's so you guys have these great events that I am guilty of never going to, but
Yeah, it's all good.
it's now is the time for guys
Yeah.
like me, like, hey, like, just show up, have fun, like, creative minded people. These people are rad. Colin's one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're about out of time here, Colin. So I have a little sign off that I say we are trending upward, Colorado Springs. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me here, Colin.
No, thanks a lot for having me, Sean. This is a lot of fun, man, for sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wish we had more time, man. I love this.
For sure, for sure. I might have to up my Zoom meeting so that we can talk for 3 hours like Joe Rogan does. But but until
This
then,
is good.
adieu, and you have a blessed week here, okay?
You too. Thanks a
All right.
lot.
All right, bye-bye now.
See ya.